What's going on, y'all? It's Greg. Greg said it. Back with our Sunday inspirational motivation. Most Sunday. I hope you all had a chance to check out my live earlier today. We were talking about should the not Pac-12, but the Big 12 fear Colorado. Colorado's coming in with the big boys, with the big guns, with the big quarterback on a supposedly less competitive conference, but they say some tough guys, and some people say they're gonna have the toughest schedule. I don't know what they know the difference. I don't know what they care. They got some guys coming in from all over for the second year in a row, but even a better quality. And we're saying maybe that's gonna be something that it's gonna have to take notice. And I did mention some things about them referees gonna have to be checked. Make sure they ain't trying to undercut these boys, but it looked like Colorado has a momentum that's worthy of being respected. From the line, offensive line, now the defensive line starting to come along. They got a couple receivers coming out, and it's looking pretty good. To the point where Colorado's considered the most improved program in the country. Now, I don't know, I can't remember what post I saw with that, but I saw a graphic. You know, different people got their different perspectives and different lists. Not only are they the top transfer portal team, but they're the top as far as what they've already improved on. It's different from what they were last year this time. Last year this time, they had a few people. Most of their improvements came after, you know, that second part of the portal opening up. And they really missed a lot of pieces because they started late. Because remember, Coach Prime was playing in the Celebration Bowl, so he only had a handful of people who came in at this time of year in the first opening of the portal, the early group, the early commitment. Then, of course, later on, he flipped, come on in. But a lot of those guys came later, especially the guys he, quote-unquote, really wanted. They came when, you know, after the transfers opened up after the spring game. So basically the summertime. So a lot of the guys that he really, quote unquote, wanted are the ones who are there now. Most of them were not there in the spring. They weren't part of the January, February, March, April workouts. We know that because a lot of them boys end up leaving to open up the door for the guys that came in that summer, which was June. So when you look at it, most of them guys, they didn't get to do spring. They didn't get to play together. They only had, you know, that little window they allowed during the summer to practice. So they worked out together in the summer, and then they had that little 25, 26 day window to practice. So that's what you saw out there. It was an improved team, but definitely a team that lacked chemistry. And some of it got better defensively as the season went on. Not necessarily offensively. The offense was strong, which we knew they would be the one come out fast, and the defense would come out later, but we didn't know to what degree. But the offense actually started to decline as they started to let Shadul get hit more and more, to the point he didn't even play the last game and a half. But the defense, you know, seemed to stop teams, not consistently, but the scores were shorter, smaller, to the point where if the offense was still playing at the level that they started out with, instead of wearing down, they would have been winning those last few games. Because you got to think about it, they were losing games with, you know, 20-something to 30-something to the late teens, and 20-something to the late teens. It was still losing by a close margin. The difference was the offense productivity. The defense was still getting turnovers and making plays, but the offense wasn't scoring the average points. If the offense did somehow score the average points, most of those games they would have won outside of Washington State. So what we're seeing now with these new players coming in, and still coming in as we speak, edge rushers, linebackers, offensive line, receivers, still looking for some inside linebackers to come through and more interior D linemen, but already considered the most improved team. Already. Just the first early commitment class. This is a step up. That was not the case last year. For people who want to hate, to compare apples to apples, last year it was irrelevant because that first group was just, you know, Dylan Edwards and people he already knew. He really didn't get a lot of recruits, especially, you know, it was hard because you didn't realize who was going to be there. A lot of people left before he got there. A lot of people left when he got there, and then some left after he got there, which was like spring. And it's really hard to you to say he should have got people because he probably didn't fully know what he needed at that point when he did get there. He knew that he was going to have to, quote unquote, run off some players, but he didn't quite know what he was going to need until he got there and then practice with them. And he did see, oh, this is not what I want. But that don't make up the fact you don't lost all that the activity in the transfer portal that you could have got maybe some guys, but you didn't know you needed them. You surely didn't know what you was going to need after the spring game until after people start leaving and you made room for people to come in. So he couldn't have took advantage of the early commitment, not to this level. He didn't know what he needed, but he absolutely knew what he needed this season and this transfer season, this portal season. And that's a beautiful thing from an inspirational, motivational side. Motivation, inspiration, whatever you want to call it. Because life is so much easier when you know what you need, when you know what improvements you need to make. Sometimes people avoid and hide from it and be in denial and be delusional, and they want to face the fact. But that's a beautiful thing to know where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, so you can know what to spend time on to focus on, what areas you need to develop. And yeah, he suffered during this season and suffered more than probably should and probably wanted to, but it very well positioned him to know exactly what he needs and know exactly what to go for, and he's doing it. It's not a secret. It's not confusion. He went exactly to where he needed, the line. He kept talking about the trenches from day one, and that's exactly where he went, first and foremost. Because you got a top quarterback. And like you working on certain things, the best thing you can do is say, this is why I need help at. Whether it's a mentor, whether it's a team you're building around yourself, whether you're building a business or organization, you know your strengths and you know your needs. You know, I got these people in this area, but I need people in that area. And the more you are aware of that, the better chances your success are. Who needs to be blindsided by failure? Okay, who needs to be blindsided by the fact that you didn't face the facts? You can be down, you can lose, you can be like Coach Prime, say, get me now. But I know exactly where I'm going and I'm already working on it. And when you see me next time, you're going to wish you didn't look down on me. You're going to wish you didn't talk about me like that, because I know exactly where to go and what to get. And I know when I fill these gaps, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem with me, because these gaps are where I'm getting exposed at. So imagine that. Back to the Colorado Buffaloes. They fill in these gaps where the quarterback's not getting sacked almost 100 times a season. And he's still throwing 4,000 plus yards. Percentage rate is still in the mid-70s, upper 70s. How much better would he be? We didn't have a running game offset. How much better would a running game be when people just not whiffing blocks? Looking like they literally don't know what to do. People just running right past them like they're not there. What happens if you eliminate that? A team that only lost, 6 of those 8 games by pretty much a touchdown. And there's a lot of other things that I can factor in. But that's just how close they were with the bad line. With the defense that wasn't quite getting the pressure on their quarterback. With gaps. Shouldn't they be significantly better? Guess we'll see. But one thing you don't want to be at this point, because the way they moving, you don't want to be on the wrong side of history. A lot of people hoping and wishing that they fail. A lot of people hoping and wishing that they succeed. It's going to be interesting, guys. It's going to be an interesting offseason. And I really believe next season, you thought this season was hype. Next season, it's going to be way more fireworks. Because you best believe they coming back for blood. They can't get back at the people who beat them last year. They can get back at some of them. But they definitely gonna get back at the naysayers who didn't recognize that they would put in that work, so you would never shame them again and pick on and taunt them again. I'm not saying you're supposed to, go for vengeance or do things to prove something or somebody wrong, but it definitely is a motivating factor. I'm going to leave it at that. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. This is Greg Said It once again. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all have a good one.